Book of Heaven, Volume 14. 3rd to the 9th of October 1922. Page 104 to 109. October 3, 1922. Necessity that the Virgin be aware of the interior pains of Jesus. Continuing in my usual state, I felt oppressed because blessed Jesus often allows that I suffer while the confessor is here present, and I lamented to him, telling him, "My love, I beg you, I implore you, do not allow again that I suffer in the presence of anyone. Let everything pass between me and you, and that you alone be aware of my pains. Oh, please, make me content, give me your word that you will not do it any more. Even more, make me suffer twice as much. I am happy, as long as everything is hidden between me and you." And Jesus, interrupting me, told me, "My daughter, do not lose heart. When my will wants it, you too must surrender. Besides, this is nothing other than a step of my life. My very hidden life, my interior pains and everything I did, always had at least one or two spectators, and this, with reason, out of necessity, and in order to obtain the purpose of my pains themselves. The first spectator was my celestial Father, from whom nothing could escape, since he himself was the one who inflicted those pains upon me. He was actor and spectator. If my Father had seen and known nothing, how could I satisfy him, give him glory, and bend him to mercy for mankind at the sight of my pains? Their purpose would have failed. Secondly, my Mama was spectator of all my pains of my hidden life, and this was necessary. Having come from heaven to earth to suffer, not for myself, but for the good of others, I had to have at least one creature in whom I was to place that good which my pains contained, and therefore move my dear Mama to thank me, to praise me, to love me and to bless me, letting her admire the excess of my goodness. So much so that, captured, enraptured and moved at the sight of my pains, she prayed me that in the face of the great good which my pains brought to her, I would not exempt her from being identified with my own pains, in order to suffer them, to repay me, and to be my perfect imitator. If my Mama had seen nothing, I would not have had my first imitator, not a "thank you," no praise. My pains and the good they contained would have remained without effect because, since no one would have known them, I could not have made the first prop, and the purpose of the great good which the creature was to receive would have been lost. See how necessary it was that at least one creature be aware of my pains. If for me it was so, I want it to be so also for you. Even more, I tell you that I want the confessor acting together with me, as spectator and depository of the pains I make you suffer, so that he too may share in their good, and having him with me, I may excite him more in the faith and infuse in him light and love, to make him comprehend the truths I keep manifesting to you. On hearing this, I remained oppressed more than ever, and while I hoped for mercy, I found justice and unshakability on the part of Jesus. Oh, God, what pain! In seeing me more afflicted, he added, "My daughter, is this the love you have for me? Times are so very sad, and the troubles which are coming are too horrifying, and when you are not able to prevent the whole course of my justice by yourself, you will be able to do it in two, and you yourself should ask me to make you suffer. Therefore, resign yourself also in this and be patient. Your Jesus wants it, and that's enough." October 6, 1922. The first plane of the human acts changed into divine in the divine will was done by Jesus. Luisa is the first one to live in the divine will. I was praying when my always lovable Jesus came, and throwing his arms around my neck, told me, "My daughter, let us pray together, let us enter into the immense sea of my will so that nothing may come from you which is not plunged in it. The thought, the word, the heartbeat, the work, the step, everything must take its place in my will, and for each thing you do in it, you will take one more possession and acquire a greater right. All human acts, according to the purpose of creation, were to have life in my volition and form in it their plane of all human acts changed into divine, with the mark of supreme nobility, sanctity and wisdom. It was not our will that man withdraw from us, but that he live with us, growing in our likeness and operating with our own manners. This is why I wanted that all his acts be done in my will, to give him the space in which to form his own little river within the immense sea of my will. I acted like a father who possessed great lands and said to his son, I give you possession of the center of my possessions, so that you may not go out of my boundaries and may grow in my riches, with my own nobility and with the greatness of my works, and so that all may recognize that you are my son. What would one say of him if he did not accept the great gift of his father and went to foreign lands to live out of miseries, disennobling himself under slavery of cruel enemies? Such was man. Now, this plain, this little river in my volition, I want it from you. Let each one of your thoughts flow in it, so that, at the reflections of our intelligence, which is thought of each one, it may rise over each intelligence and give us the homage of each thought in a divine manner. Let your words and works flow as well, so that, at the reflection of our word, fiat, which made all things and is word of each one, and at the reflections of the sanctity of our works, which is life and motion of all, they may rise and hover over all, giving us the glory of each word and of each work, with our own word, fiat, and with the very sanctity of our works. My daughter, if all that is human, be it even one thought, is not done in my will, the human plane takes no possession, the little river is not formed, and my will cannot descend upon the earth to make itself known and to reign. On hearing this, I said to him, My love, Jesus, how is it possible that after so many centuries of life of the Church, which put out so many saints, and many of them have astonished heaven and earth with their virtues and with the wonders they performed, they did not operate fully in the divine will so as to form that plane you are talking about? Were you waiting just for me, the most unable, the most bad and ignorant one, in order to do this? It seems just incredible. And Jesus, listen, my daughter, my wisdom has means and ways which man ignores, such that he is obliged to lower his forehead and adore it in mute silence, and it is not up to him to dictate the laws to me, whom I should choose and the appropriate time, which my goodness disposes. Besides, first I had to form the saints, who were to resemble me and copy my humanity in a more perfect way, as much as is possible for them. And this I have already done. Now my goodness wants to move further, and wants to give in greater excesses of love. And therefore I want them to enter into my humanity and copy what the soul of my humanity did in the divine will. If the first ones cooperated with my redemption in order to save souls, to teach the law, to cast away sin, being limited within the centuries in which they lived, the second ones will go beyond, copying what the soul of my humanity did in the divine will. They will embrace all centuries, all creatures, and rising above all, will place in force the rights of creation which are due to me, and which concern all creatures, bringing all things to the prime origin of creation and to the purpose for which creation was delivered. Everything is ordered in me. If I delivered creation, it must return to me ordered, just as it came out from my hands. The first plane of the human acts changed into divine in my will, has already been done by me. I left it as though suspended, and the creature, except for my dear and inseparable mamma, knew nothing. This was necessary. If man did not know the way, the door, the rooms of my humanity, how could he enter inside of me and copy what I did? Now the time has come for the creature to enter into this plane and do also something of her own within mine. What is the wonder if I have called you as the first one? Besides, it is so true that I have called you as the first, since to no other soul, though dear to me, have I manifested the way to live in my will, the effects of it, and the wonders and goods which the creature operating in the supreme volition receives. Check as many lives of saints as you want, or books of doctrines. In none of them will you find the prodigies of my volition operating in the creature and of the creature operating in it. At the most, you will find resignation, union of wills, but in not one of them will you find the divine will operating in her, and she in it. This means that the time had not come in which my goodness was to call the creature to live in this sublime state. Even the way I make you pray cannot be found in anyone else. Therefore, be attentive. My justice demands this, my love is delirious, so my wisdom disposes everything in order to obtain the intent. It is the rights, the glory of creation, that we want from you. October 9, 1922. The human will acting in the divine. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus came all tenderness, clasped me in his arms, kissed me, and said to me, who knows how many times, "My daughter, the daughter of my will, how dear you are to me." Listen, as your will enters into mine, it empties itself of you, and mine enters, acting in you, and as mine acts, yours receives the strength of the creative power and remains acting in me. And since I am one single point, containing everything, embracing everything, doing everything, I see your will acting in me with my own creative power, wanting to give me everything and repay me for all. And to my highest contentment I see it before me from the very first instant in which I delivered the whole creation. Leaving all behind, it comes forward, as if you were the first one to be created by me, in whom no splitting of wills exists between me and you, just as I would have wanted the first man to be, and it gives me honor, glory, love, as if creation had not gone out of my will. What taste, what contentment I feel! You cannot understand it. The order of creation is given back to me, the harmonies, the joys, alternate together. I see this human will acting in me in the light of the sun, upon the waves of the sea, in the flickering of the stars, in everything. And it gives me the glory of all the goods which these creative things give to man. What happiness! It resembles me in everything, with this difference. I am one single point, and you, little by little, as you keep operating, thinking, speaking, loving in my will, take more space and form divine births.